Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I just adjust this. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Should we make a start?
I'm just introducing.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Thank you everyone for joining. We're very happy again, alhamdulillah, that we have Ustad Tahir who's managed to give us his time. MashaAllah, he's learned from some of the great shuyukh, alhamdulillah. At the moment they're studying under Habib Umar, Hafidahullah Ta'ala, in Yemen, in Hadramaut, who's the leader of the Ba'alawi shuyukh. They've traveled all over, alhamdulillah. So they've been very, very busy this time when they've been around, and they wanted to give time for us. So we're very lucky to have them, alhamdulillah, here. It's not a long program. Hopefully there might be time at the end, depending on what Ustad wants to do for questions, inshallah, related to the topic. It's a very serious topic. It's something that we all definitely need in this day and age. Addiction to technology, parenting, and sort of how we can connect back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I'll hand over to Ustad Tahir, inshallah. He can bless us with his pearls of wisdom. Ustad Tahir, inshallah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم لا علم إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وزدنا علما. I'd like to welcome everybody, alhamdulillah. Today I'd like to thank the organizers, all the best the organizers, for making these things possible. Without the organizers, mashallah, none of this would happen. Like, this is what they always mention, is that the likes of myself and others, okay, we go abroad and we spend many years studying and everything else, but when we come back, whose door are we knocking on? We're knocking on Thaqib's door. We're knocking on the door of the organizer. And so the barakah returns back to these people who put these events together. And these are great events, mashallah ta'ala. The reality of gatherings of knowledge are beyond our imagination. Like this gathering now, just having begun, mashallah ta'ala, we now have an angelic presence here. There's billions and billions of angels present here that are encompassing this gathering all the way through the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the way to the throne of God. How high is that? Like, just think about the difference between one heaven to the next, and you're going 7 heavens and beyond to the throne itself. That's how much angels are present here. And then after this gathering will finish, those angels will go into the divine presence. They'll go into the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, where did you come from? And they say, we came from this masjid in Nelson. Yeah. Where's Nelson? Nelson is how far is Nelson from Medina Munawwara? Thousands of miles. We came from this masjid in Nelson. Who was there? Thaqib was there. Uthman was there. These people will be named, and you and your father's name will be mentioned. Do you not think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows who was there? Allah knows who was there. So why does he say that? To honor, just so that our names can be mentioned in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, bear witness, I've forgiven them. And then they'll say there was somebody there, and he just came, like he didn't even know there was that. He just came, and he was just sat at the back. He wasn't even paying attention. He was just sat at the back, and he just heard, and he just came by accident. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, forgiven him as well. He's just within the vicinity. So look at the way barakah spreads. And these types of gatherings of knowledge is what keeps the ummah together. What used to happen in the times of tribulation, when everything was falling apart in the Muslim world, they would get together and they would recite Sahih al-Bukhari. Just recite it from beginning to end with the intention of Farj al-Muslimin, for the Muslims to become relieved. So this is our sharaf. This is an ummah of ilm. This is a community of knowledge. Without knowledge, we have nothing. The foundation of absolutely every revival in Islam, every time the Muslims have been strong in the world, what's been the foundation has been knowledge. Without exception. You can't tell me a single time in history where the Muslims rose and the Muslims became strong in the world, except that knowledge was the foundation of it. From the very beginning, the Prophet ﷺ, through every single generation, knowledge. Now the challenge with knowledge, that's why I was telling people to sit on chairs and what have you, is I want people to feel comfortable, because knowledge requires himmah, it requires determination. It's difficult to come and sit and learn and everything else. It's not a natural thing. So the more comfortable we are, the better we are, inshallah ta'ala. Traditionally, the way we learn traditionally there in Yemen is different. We sit on the floor 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. But I wouldn't expect that from you guys. But that's the reality of knowledge. What's the prophetic way that they would sit at the feet of the Prophet ﷺ, and he would teach them. Alhamdulillah. So what we're going to look at today, very important topic. Really, the most this topic here, is the most important topic we can discuss. This is what our teachers have told us. The biggest veil between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our phone. That literally, that's the biggest veil between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And really, there's no point in talking about anything else. I could come and I could talk about the meanings of the Quran. I love to talk. I could talk about the importance of the salah. I could talk about dhikrullah. There's many topics that we could talk about, but you're never going to understand the ladha, the sweetness of reciting the Quran. You're never going to understand the power of dhikr. You're never going to understand the importance of prayer as long as you're addicted to this thing here. This is the problem. Yeah, the problem is that we're immersed in this and it's cutting us off from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we're going to see, completely removing us from Allah. Because people, we have busy lives. People go to work, their family commitments, whatever they're doing. And then at the end of the day, you probably have maybe, most people on average have about 3 or 4 hours left at the end of the day of their own time. Yeah, those 3 or 4 hours now, that is now supposed to be a time to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, and that's a long time, 3 or 4 hours. You can do a lot in that time. But instead, we're on our phones. And the stats, as we're going to show, just to give you one example before we get into it, if you gave this up, let's just say you said, I'm going to stop looking on my phone and I'm going to spend that same time reading Quran. You would, every single person in this room would be able to do a full Quran khatam every day. Yeah, because they say 7 or 8 hours a day. So you could do that's how much time you spend on your phone. You could do a full Quran khatam every. Take 7 hours to complete the Quran from beginning to end. Once you're fluent at it, start doing it. You'll be doing a full Quran khatam every day. This is by the people of the past. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, he would do a full Quran khatam every day. Imam Shafi'i Quran khatam. Imam Abu Hanifa in the prayer, 1 rak'ah, complete the full Quran in the night. Uthman ibn Affan, Sufyan ibn Abi, these great people, this is what they would do. Full Quran khatam in one night. So we think, oh yeah, those guys, like they were amazing. No, we've got exactly the same time. Yeah, one of the shuyukh in Morocco, they asked him, they said, can you tell us, what were the Sahaba like with the Quran? What a question, isn't it? What were the Sahaba like with the Quran? And he said they were like with the Quran like you are with your phone. Yeah. Constantly, again and again and again. As soon as it's I saw this, there's one brother, mashallah, really a beautiful student of knowledge, who studied out with us in Yemen. He's from Manchester, actually, I think originally. He's from the UK. And I remember once, it was COVID time. And the COVID time, we were in Yemen at the time in COVID, and a lot of people were ill, as you know, from COVID. So what we were doing was, there was 2 or 3 houses, they would cook food for everybody else. Yeah, so at that time, alhamdulillah, me and my family were okay. So it was our turn to, prepare the food. So anyway, this brother comes to pick up the food. So I'm going to deliver the food to have. So I go, yeah, that's fine. Go and get the food. I noticed when I went, he's got his phone up. But no, he's got his phone. He's reading Quran. Then he doesn't even want to waste 10 seconds reading Quran. He's addicted to the Quran. That's the point. We should be addicted to the Quran, so we're addicted to this. And whatever we watch, at best, it's a waste of time. At worst, it's haram. At best, we're wasting our time on these machines. And mashallah, the elders are here. Sorry for the elders. You guys are just as bad. We're all in it. People blame the children. Don't be children. Adults are worse. And then even the elders now, we're all addicted. Yeah. Why? Because the machine is designed to attack your brain in a way. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who you are. It will get you. Yeah, it will get. And it's demonic. Yeah, it's demonic. This is the most powerful tool that Shaitan has found so far since the beginning. They're saying this is the most important invention in human history. Like it's altered human society more than any other invention. It's completely changed everything. I was just looking today because I was setting up the live stream here. Look at something like YouTube. YouTube was set up in 2005. It's been 20 years, 21 years. That's it. And look at the impact of YouTube. It's amazing. Who is YouTube set up? This is being recorded. So being recorded. Whatever. It's Zionism, isn't it? YouTube, Google, Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever else you want to talk about. It's all controlled by Zionists. Yeah, look at the influence of it within 20 years. Because YouTube by itself is potentially the most powerful drug that was ever invented. Especially the impact of it. The impact of it is profound, and people are just on. And look at the thing is, you can't hide anymore. Look at the things people are watching. I want to use it to watch Islamic stuff. Now we know what you use it for. It's all out there. Just look at the stats. Look at the most popular videos that are out there. It's complete and utter nonsense that people are watching. There's nothing useful whatsoever, is it? How many of them are using it for Islamic knowledge, things like that? Very, very few. Yeah, very, very few. So, okay, so here we go. Small connection. I can't get off my phone. Okay, what we're going to look at first is we have to understand. This is again something that we take directly from the Prophet ﷺ is the Prophet ﷺ, the way he would teach his companions. He would lay foundations first. Yeah, he would lay foundations. He would give them what we call a worldview. He would explain to them how the world works. Then you start to look at problems. So same thing here. What's the worldview? We have to understand what is addiction. What does it mean to be addicted to something? We've got to begin with that before we can look at how to solve these problems. So why do we become addicted? Eventually, there's different reasons here for why people. The first and foremost, the problems oftentimes start from childhood. And you look at the reasons why, like aggressive behavior from parents. That's like the number one reason why people become addicted. Ajib, isn't it? Yeah, so I think these things start from childhood. And that's why look at the Prophet ﷺ. If you look at the hadith, so much of the hadith literature is on the Prophet ﷺ as a father, as a family man. Much of the literature. I love that we just ignore it. How was the Prophet ﷺ in the house? It's embarrassing for us. As men, it's embarrassing. The Prophet ﷺ, how was he in the house? He was in the service of his family. He would sweep the floor. The Prophet ﷺ, the Afdal Khalqillah, would sweep the floor in his house. He'd milk the cow. He'd help out in the kitchen. He'd cook the food and things like that, prepare the food. He would sew his own sandals and his clothes, fix them. So this is what he would do in the house. So this is like the pinnacle of manhood. Look at the humility of the best of creation. They say Prophet he was more shy in his own house than a secluded maiden in a private chambers. Like an unmarried woman in a private house, shy, like the most shyest of people. He was too shy to even ask for food. So we come into the house and he say, like, is there anything? He wouldn't say, is there anything to eat? Is there anything? And then one of his blessed wives would say no, and he'd say, oh, I'm fasting today then. Is there anything? No, there's nothing today. Okay, I'm fasting. That was it. Yeah, this is the nature of it. So we have to understand these things. How are we in the house? That's where it all begins. So many people here or people watching online, oh yeah, my kids this and my kids that. Yeah, where did that come from? There's a foundation to all of these things. Lack of parental supervision. Parents are too busy, and therefore the child gets neglected. I mean, these stats, subhanAllah, like the average parent gives 20 minutes a week of undivided attention to their child. A week. That's like 3 minutes a day. And then here is like, that's America. UK is 40. That's not much, but six minutes a day. That's what he's giving. 6 minutes a day. And then we wonder why the kids are messed up. SubhanAllah. So lack of parent supervision, low peer refusal skills. This is a problem for all of us as adults and as children. We just go with the crowd. So many people go, like, just look at the types of clothes we wear. Why do we wear these types of clothes? Why do we dress in the prophetic way? It's just because of whatever's around. We just follow. We just go with the flow. We sheep, and we just follow. We go. We don't actually think about why we're doing this, why we're doing that. Yeah, and even those of us like we're wearing Islamic clothes. Maybe I'm going with the flow because I live in an Islamic country. And see, we're all just kind of like going on autopilot. Yeah, so we don't have this self-confidence. Yeah. There's other reasons, drug experimentation, community poverty. So, yeah. So these are the things. Okay, how then do we prevent addiction? I'm going to mention a few things before we go into. This is general points before we go into technology. Self-control. What is self-control? I mean, it's such an alien idea. People have forgotten what it even is. And the ability to restrain and hold yourself back. It seems so alien in this modern day and age. Because what does the world teach us today? Just do whatever. Just do whatever, isn't it? If you feel like doing something, it's called instant gratification. That means I want something immediately, I'm going to have it. That's the phone. Like, what do they call this thing? A bed rot. Someone wakes up in the morning, they don't even leave their bed because they're on their phone for like 1-2 hours. Yeah, scrolling or watching YouTube shorts or reels or whatever. Why are they doing that? Because their phone is giving them the pleasure that they don't need to go out and look for any pleasure. They're getting their pleasure from their phone. So they just stay in bed. It's absolutely insane. This is what we've been raised as human beings. It's supposed to be the pinnacle of human society. Yeah. But the point is belief in self-control. Yeah, that you have the ability, to stop. This is the essence. Like subhanAllah, our teacher there in Yemen, Habib Umar, said something really scary. He said that if you say you're a believer, yeah, or we all say we believe it. If you say you're a Muslim, you say you believe, and he said, if you can't stop sinning, you're going to say, when you can't stop sinning, he said, then your iman is not real. Your iman is a surah. It's like a picture. But the reality of iman is not that. And he says there's a very good chance you will die in kufr. Allah protect us. A very good chance to die. Why? Because at the point of death, what did the Prophet say? Inna lil mawti la sakarat. That death has pangs, difficulties. The soul's being ripped from the body. Yeah, at that, are you going to stay calm and you're going to have tasbeeh and la ilaha illallah, or are you going to be shaking and this? Because shaitan will try everything. For those of us who's our parents, our pastor, or grandparents, he'll come. Shaitan will come in the form of your parents and he say, no, nothing happens after death. Don't believe. Yeah, he'll try everything. Are you telling me that you're going to stay firm on the qawl of la ilaha illallah? If you can't stop sinning now, if you can't even get off your phone, how are you going to stay firm on that day? How are you going to be in the grave? Yeah, how are you going to be in the grave if you can't have the ability to just sit still for 10, 20 seconds and remember your Lord now? Yeah, how think you're going to be in the grave? So belief in self-control, which is what Islam is all. Islam is about taqwa. Taqwa is self-control. Stopping yourself from sinning, preventing yourself from sinning. That's the essence of the affair. Yeah. What else? Parental monitoring and support. And really, we all need it. We're all kids. Yeah, forget about parents. You know what I do with my phone? I was mentioning this to somebody. Like what do I do with I give it to my daughter. I give my phone to my daughter and say, you keep hold of it. When I need it, I'll get it off you. Like I need monitoring. That's where we realize that I need monitoring. Yeah? That's part of what you have to recognize. I've got a problem here. I need monitoring. I'm addicted. We're all addicted. So just like we're saying our kids need the parent, we need ourselves. Yeah, and that's the quickest solution. As we're going to look at, the quickest solution to dealing with your phone addiction is get help from somebody else. It takes a bit of humility. You have to humble yourself a bit of admitting you've got a problem, and then get help, and it'll soon be resolved. Positive relationships. Yeah, if you want to prevent addiction, then positive relationship, good grades is more like school stuff, etc. Okay. Stress is a key factor in addictive behavior. This is pure shaitan now. Shaitan, what's his main role? His main role is to make you anxious, to make you upset, to make you worried. Shaitan plays from fear, doesn't he? So stress is a key factor. Where does stress come from? Stress comes from worry about the future. Stress comes from grief over the past. And that's one of the key things that leads to people becoming addicted. Another problem here is once you become addicted to anything, everything else in life becomes boring. This is the problem, isn't it? Like if you're addicted to this phone or you're addicted to something, nothing else is interesting. You can't sit and read a book. You can't even sit and read the book. You can't even read the Quran anymore. Like somebody was saying to me, oh, we've got a big problem. What's the problem? Or people don't read anymore. And that's not the problem. People don't read the Quran anymore. That's the problem. The other people don't read anymore. Like if they didn't read and they read the Quran, it's all right. Don't worry. People don't read anything. It's still not good. We should be reading generally. But the problem is no one reads the Quran. That's the problem. Yeah. Why is that? Because we've got more exciting things to do. Because we're just addicted to this quick buzz we get from technology. Yeah. Okay. We'll go. Okay. This one is important, but we'll come back to this. Loneliness and boredom. Yeah. We'll come back to some of these issues just because I want to get into the smartphone thing particularly. Okay, so how do we become addicted? So let's talk you guys through now what happens when you're on your phone. This is how it works. Yeah, let's just say that you pick up your phone and you go into YouTube, and you watch a YouTube short as an example. So you watch a YouTube short. Now let's just say I haven't been on my phone for 2 months or something, which is like a miracle these days. Let's just say I've been on my phone for 2 months, and then I go on and I watch a YouTube short. Yeah, and I get some kind of pleasure from that. It's enjoyable. If it wasn't enjoyable, I wouldn't be doing it. I'd be doing something else. I get some enjoyment. So to keep it simple, let's just say I watch one YouTube short and I get 100 units of pleasure. Keeping it simple for you guys. So I get 100 units of pleasure. I get that buzz. I get that bit of happiness, excitement from watching it. Yeah. So what do I want to do after that? I want to watch another one on time. Of course, I've just watched one. It was nice. So then I watch another one. The second one that I watch, have a guess how many units of pleasure I get from it. Anybody have a guess here? Let's see if you guys are awake. Yeah. So the first one I got 100 units. The first one was 100. I watch a second YouTube show now. How many units of pleasure do I get from the second one? Do you think? No. Less. Quarter. So I get 20 quarters. So what does that mean then? I've watched. I'm dissatisfied. I've got to watch another one now because I want to get back to 100. So now I have to watch 4. Just to get to 1 in it. But then after when I watch the third one, it goes down again. Then I'm down to like 15. Yeah. So then I've got to watch 6 or 7. So what happens is, imagine I've been watching shorts for an hour. It means I've got to watch like 100 or something, or whatever, 200 or something, just to get that buzz from one. Can you see the problem? That's now suddenly you're addicted. So now you're spending hours and hours because you're just searching for that original buzz. This works. It works same with cigarettes. Yeah, someone smokes one cigarette, even just the first thing on the cigarette, they get more pleasure from that than they would from, by the time they've had 10, 20 that day, they're desperate, they're not getting it, are they? So it's the same principle. This is how it works. So something's new and exciting, you get more of a buzz out of it, and then after that it goes. Yeah, you know, chocolate bar, I don't know, donut or something. You bite into it, the first bite's amazing, then the second not as good, and then eventually it peters out. So you need like a full box, don't you? Just to get that same one. Yeah, can you see this is the problem? So this is exactly what happens with the phone. So what ends up happening then, it completely sucks away our time. And what's the most precious reality we have is time. SubhanAllah, if you could see how careful the early people were with their time. They mentioned one of the scholars from Hadramaut that somebody gave him a watch. He gave him a watch as a gift. Yeah, and it's one of those watches that it's like a wind-up watch. This was like a few hundred years ago. So anyway, he gives them a gift, and then this man, he went on Hajj. Yeah, and then he comes back after Hajj, and he goes to the Imam, and he's really excited. Oh, did you use my gift? Because he wants the barakah, wants the blessings of, the sheikhs use my gift. And the sheikh is like, it doesn't work. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, thank you so much for the gift, but the watch doesn't work. He goes, let me have a look at it. He looked at it. He goes, no, it does work, because you have to wind it up like this, and then it works. He's like, I don't have time for that. You think I've got 3 or 4 seconds to wind up a watch? I'm too busy. They would say about Imam al-Bukhari, whilst he was writing his hadith, his blessed wife would be feeding him. Because I've got time, he's writing hadith, so she's feeding him. This is how much look at the way we just waste our time. What's really sad is if you use this phone properly, it could save you a lot of time. But we don't. We use it for the wrong reasons. Like, we've got means now. Technology is actually a good thing if you can use it properly. But how many of us are trained in using technology? Very, very few. I look at the aeroplane, for example. It's a great thing. They tell a funny story about one of these Bedouin. There was a man, he said that he would travel from Mauritania to Sudan. He goes, I would travel from Mauritania, which is on the west coast of Africa, to Sudan. And it would take him 2 weeks to make that journey. Not to 2 months, I think. I should take him 2 months. So anyway, so he's talking to an American guy, one of these modern Americans, and he tells them, and he's like, I can do that in 2 hours on a plane. He takes you, and he's like, 2 hours? He goes, yeah, it goes 2 hours. Look at that. And he takes you 2 months. Like, he's trying to show off, the white man likes to think he's the best, and he's trying to show off, and he's like, okay, well, all that time that you save, what do you do with all that time that you save? And the man just goes red, embarrassed. It's like, what are you doing? Were you just playing solitaire or something? Like, you're just playing games with it. Yeah, whereas the Bedouin, he spends 2 months, but look what he's doing in those 2 months. Tafakkur fi khalqillah. He's reflecting upon the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is from the, if not the highest acts of worship. And you see, we're saving time. What are we doing with it? It's so convenient now for us. You can go on your app and do your online banking or whatever. But so what? We've got all that time now. So, okay, I can save 3 or 4 hours a day now. I don't have to go here. I don't have to do my shopping. I can do all of that. And so what? What do you do with those 3 or 4 hours? You just watch YouTube shorts. Like, what was the point? Better to go out and do a bit of work. At least it keeps you busy. It's like we're not getting any benefit from that time, which is crazy. Yeah. So this is how it works. So the first time you get this buzz, and then the second time it's not the same, and then so you need more and more and more and more. Yeah. Now this is the question: what happens if you're not getting that kick? So what happens is I watch that YouTube short and I get that buzz from it, and then I want more and more. So before you know it, I'm spending like an hour trying to get the same buzz I got from one 30-second clip because I'm so bored of watching them. But what about so now I'm getting frustrated because I haven't got hours and hours, have I? I've only got a limited number of times. So what happens then? What happens if I'm anybody? What do you think is going to happen if you don't get the buzz that you want from that addictive substance? How are you going to feel? What do you think of man? How are you going to feel? What do you think?
Look for it somewhere else.
Oh, okay. Yeah, look for it somewhere else. Okay, good. Yeah. Anybody else gone? Do you think you're going to be happy over the moon? Depressed? Good. Let's have a look. Low in mood. Anxious. What's the number one killer in the world today? Killer in the world is anxiety. I remember our teacher, Sheikh Ibrahim, this was in 2008. He did a talk in Rye Field. He did a talk he said, by 2020, the number one killer in the world is going to be anxiety and depression. This is what the World Health Organization was saying. And then now look, 2020 is like easily the number one killer in the world. What's killing people more than anything else is anxiety, tension, hypertension, all the rest of it, that then spills over into depression and the rest of it. This is why people are anxious. What do you expect? Of course they're going to be anxious. You lose interest in the world around you. Massive problem. We want our children or ourselves. All of us wish we were reading more Quran. Yeah, all of us wish we were doing more dhikr. All of us wish we were doing more prayers. We were doing more dua. So why aren't we then? We all want to do. Why aren't we doing it? Because we're so addicted to this that we just. So as soon as you sat now, so it's easy right now. You're in a class with me or you're with other people. Go home and just sit down and just try to sit for about 5 minutes like this without thinking, without reaching for your phone. Try 5 seconds. You won't be able to do it. When you've got nothing else, all the first thing you do is reach for your, and that's the test. Can you just sit there for half an hour and just remember your Lord? 30 seconds, can you say remember your Lord? With your phone right there, you won't be able to do it. That means you're an addict, you're addicted. Because why can't you do it? Why is it so boring in inverted commas to do that? Because you just ping, 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 and you want this, whatever, the quick fix that this is giving you. So it's causing deep, deep damage. Because if you're not able to sit and remember Allah subhanahu, like our elders didn't have a problem with it. Even us, like people like myself and a man of our age, we remember both worlds, innit? So when we grew up, like if you wanted to contact someone, you'd call them on the house phone, and then you'd wait, and that was it. Otherwise, you can't. Yeah. So we grew up, like I got a smartphone the first time in 2014. By which stage I was 33 or something. So the first 30 years I didn't have a smartphone. Whereas now my kid, for example, my daughter is 15, she can't imagine life without a smartphone. Yeah. So we've seen both worlds. Yeah, and in those days, people used to do a lot of things. What did we used to do in the summers? You used to go and play cricket. You'd go and go karting, whatever you were doing. Yeah, you were doing things. Now, no one wants to do any of that. None of these kids want to do any of that stuff anymore. Yeah, they'd be happy to stay for hours just on that thing there, hours and hours. Yeah. So you lose interest, and then there's physical symptoms, which again you see people fidgeting around. They can't sit still. They call it ADHD now or something. And not to say that isn't real. ADHD, I'm sure, is real. I'm sure there's people that are suffering from it. But the vast majority of the root cause is that. Don't be fooled and think of the root cause is that. Same with things like infertility. Why is it people are having less children now? It's technology. It simply comes down to technology. Yeah. Like they say, one of our teachers there in Tanim was passed away. Habib Ali Mashur Rahimahullah was passed away. He said that he noticed that young girls who were exposed to any type of technology, that they would mature, they would attain puberty earlier. Like generally speaking, they would 15, 16 of times they had no signs of puberty, and at 15 they'd become an adult. Because with technology, it happens much quicker. Yeah, so can you see there's just impacts we're not even aware of with the forget about the stuff that we notice. There's things that we don't even notice, like the physical impact of these things. Yeah? The effect on the brain is that it burns out your dopamine receptors. What does that mean? It means dopamine is that which motivates you. Something which gets you excited. What gets you out of bed? What gets you to go and do something? That's what we're trying. So here it burns it out. So you're no longer motivated. You're no longer interested in doing anything except for scrolling on your phone. Yeah, you have no longer have interest in doing anything else. Look, let's have a look at this. Yeah, so look at the brain here. Yeah, so you've got this. This is like somebody 4 months after cocaine use. So basically, the impact that this phone has on your brain is the same as crack cocaine, which is a Class A drug, illegal in this country, as it should be. It's illegal, and this is legal. It doesn't make any sense. Like all of us in this room, again, if you go back 25 years, or whatever, and they looked at our brains, we would have the same brain as someone who was considered a Class A drug user at that time. So we're all basically addicts, hardcore addicts. That's the unfortunate reality of what's happened to us. Why have we allowed it to happen? That's the question. And okay, it's happened now. How can we now reclaim it back? Yeah, because remember again, who's making this phone? It's the same people that would they'd be happy to kill all of you guys in this room. They don't care. It's the same people. It's the same people who have sponsored genocide in Palestine and killing people. That's exactly the same people. In fact, we know this. One of the most ajib things, the guys who make these phones, The guys who made these phones, how much time do they let their own kids on these phones? 0. You know, up until the age of 11, they don't allow their child even 1 minute of screen time. These people, you know, who makes this? Go to Silicon Valley, you know, Silicon Valley in California, that's where they make all these technological devices. You ask them, because I used to think I was a good dad, didn't I? I used to think I was a good parent. When my kids were 7, 8, I should let them 1 hour a week on, you know, like, you know, watch a movie or whatever, you know, obviously something halal, but, you know, 1 hour, have a bit of TV time. So 1 hour a week, it's not going to harm them. Then you find out these guys, 0, they don't even allow them to go on the phone even for 1 second before the age of 11. What do they know that we don't know? That's how silly we are. And people love all these conspiracy theories. This is like, forget about conspiracy theories, just look at common sense, look at stuff that's out there. And we ignore that. Yeah, we just let our children, like, I think, what did they say? 95% of 12-year-olds have a phone. Yeah, so we allow our children to be on that, but then it's like, oh yeah, you know, these guys are, and we just believe the craziest of things. What about the obvious facts that are out there that's within the scientific literature that's very clearly there? Yeah, and then, you know, after the age of 11, they don't allow their children up until the age of 18. They never ever allow their children alone with the screen. Now, look at Bill Gates, the shaitan of our time. Bill Gates, he's got one public computer in his sitting room area, living room area. His kids are never allowed by themselves to be in front of a TV, to be in front of a laptop, in front of a tablet, in front of an iPad, in front of a phone, by themselves, abadan. Because you can't. You leave them by themselves, who knows what they're going to go on. Look at the kind of filth online, you know, that they could just access like that. Up until the age of 18. Sensible people, same guys that make these devices, we've just been duped. Are we foolish enough to allow ourselves to be tricked by these same people? And then we claim that, oh yeah, these same elites or whatever that are doing all of these things is exactly the same people that have created this, and this is the best they've come up with so far. This is the best tool the Shaitan has come up with. It's unbelievable how we've allowed ourselves to get to this stage. Yeah. Okay, stats, here we go. So here's some stats from America, shocking stats. 8 hours and 41 minutes in America. 8 hours, 41 minutes are spent every day on leisure. You know what I should do? I should get everyone together, digital well-being app up here, and you can see for the last month, it'd be scary reading, and alhamdulillah, mashallah, Allahumma asturna bisidqa jamila, mashallah. From the wisdom and the mercy of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is you don't expose people. Yeah, you guys are lucky. If it wasn't for that sunnah, yeah. So we don't expose people, but you know, what do we do though? Is just think about it for your own selves. Yeah, that's the prophetic Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If he saw somebody who had a fault or a problem, he wouldn't say anything to them directly. He'd go onto the minbar, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he would speak about in general terms. Why do some people do this, etc.? And the person will get the message like that. So that's what I'm saying to you guys. We don't need to expose you guys. You know, I don't need to expose myself. We're all in it together as well. I'm not saying I'm anything better than you guys. I'm not going to the level. Not even like spiritually, but just reality. Spiritually, we should never think we're better than other people. Even reality, look at what we are. We're all just like class A drug addicts, aren't we? And like, you know, yeah, mashallah, these guys have got good opinions, or start this and start that. But what are we really? You can't even, like, you know, stop off our phone, and that's what we are. Yeah. So 8 hours, 41 minutes on leisure daily. The average, look at that. The child spends less time. Yeah. So mashallah to the children. Children have more control than we do as adults. They spend less time. Yeah. But I mean, 6.5 hours daily is still a disaster, isn't it? We check our phones every 12 minutes. Yeah. So 12 minutes. So that's what? That's 5 times an hour. And let's just say you're awake for 16 hours in a day. What's that? 80, isn't it? 80 times a day. Somebody tell me here, how many times a day do you think it would be healthy to check a phone? What do you think, guys? You over there, what do you reckon? You, yeah. What do you reckon? How many times a day do you think would be healthy? What do you reckon? Give us a number. You're not sure? Yeah, so I wasn't asking you, but that's, you're not sure. What do you think? 0 is mashallah, definitely. But what's that the maximum number that you still think would be okay? It's a good. I'm asking a slightly different question. You're right. I mean, this is more about checking the phone. Yeah. How many times? So we're saying 80. People check the phone 80 times a day on average. How many times a day do you think it would be okay to just check the phone? How long you spend on it is a different story. You can't give us a number. 10 times, not bad. Anybody else? 5. They say about 5 or 6 times would be okay. It wouldn't affect your brain. It wouldn't rewire your brain. Yeah, and be that 80 on average. It's insane. It's insane. We're just so far away from, because that's an important thing. The point. The first time, let's just say I go on my phone and I just stay on it That isn't as bad, because this kid, I had this, I did this session in London, and one of the teenagers always got much. Teenagers are very clever. So this boy is like, oh, I need it for my homework. I think he was worried. He was thinking, I think his dad was there, so he's thinking, oh my, I'm going to use my phone here. So he's like, I need it for my homework. Okay, I need it for your homework. Because the point is, if you let's just say I get my phone now and I spend half an hour going through all my messages, sorting all my work stuff or whatever, and then put it away. That isn't as bad as the constant checking. Can you see the problem? The constant checking, because every time you're checking, you're looking for that buzz. Yeah, and the more you do that, you get into this loop of your phone becomes your means of getting happiness. And you see what I mean? That reflex is go to the phone. Reflex of the Sahaba, Quran. Reflex of the Prophet ﷺ, Salah. Prophet ﷺ had any worry in his life, any anxiety, any concern in his life, straight to the Salah. That's where he would go, Allahu Akbar, speaking with his Lord. It's a massive difference compared to going to this and looking for whatever you're going to get. So every 12 minutes. So this is the most shocking. 2,167 swipes a day. 2,167 swipes a day. Yeah. Osman's probably think I'd do 3,000. Yeah, he probably do more, isn't it? Like, even this every 12 minutes, I was like, that's not too bad. 65% check phone within 5 minutes of waking up. So as soon as you wake up, you've ruined your day already by checking, as we're going to see. Why? This is an important stat. Over 40% of people say they can't live. So put your hands up, guys. Over 40% say they can't live without their phones. Yeah. Who can't live without their phone? Puts the hand up. If you're being honest, we'll all put our hand up. There you go. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Got some honest people here. Can't live without it. Can't live without it. That's part of it. They've created it like that. They've created it like that. So now you're dependent upon it. And then that's it. They've got you. 60% of people, I think we can put most of us on this one, hate how much time to spend on it. We hate it. Like it's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. You want to go to bed, but you just 1, 2 in the morning, you're still scrolling. And then why did you feel terrible? You feel tired the next day. Why did I do it? You don't even know why you're doing it yourself. That's called an addiction, people. Yeah, when you don't even know why you're doing it, you're still doing it. That's called being addicted. What else is it? You've got zero self-control whatsoever. Teenagers. A teenager who spends 5 hours a day on their phone has a far greater suicide risk. Allah protect. And this has become a big problem even amongst the Muslim community. Persons in the fiqh, the amount of cases I've heard about this, of teenagers committing suicide. Muslim families, it's shocking now. All over the country we're hearing these kind of things. 50% of 18 to 34-year-olds, subhanAllah, feel they're unattractive due to social media. So it's affecting the way that they look at themselves physically. All this causes some more anxiety, etc. Okay, designed to destroy. This is very, very significant now. Designed to destroy. The sound, lights, and visual effects of phones are designed by the same people who made gambling machines. In these guys, and look at the destruction of gambling. And this is whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran is important. Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mention khamr in the Quran? It's going to be a problem to the end of time, alcohol. Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mention like inappropriate male-female relations? It's going to be a problem to the end of time. Why does it mention gambling? Problem to the end of time. Yeah. So these same people who created these gambling machines, and how many lives have they destroyed? Millions and millions and millions. They're the same people that create the sounds, lights, and visual effects of these phones. Yeah? So they're designed to be addictive. This is probably a very, very important stat people understand is they release adrenaline. They release adrenaline. Now, adrenaline is good. It gives you energy, but you can't be in that state all the time. If you're always in a state of adrenaline, you're going to burn. It's like always being in fight mode. Like you get into fighting mode when you're scared of something comes, you've got to be ready for it. But you can't be in that state all the time. It's exhausting. That's what it is. You're in that state all the time of like, let's go. Yeah. And look at this. Every time you check your phone, it takes 30 minutes for your brain to calm down. So what does that mean? Within 5 minutes, I check it. Then I'm checking every 12 minutes. It means my brain is never, ever calm. Yeah. And then we wonder why we can't, reflect upon when we can't do dhikr properly. Like I've been doing sessions about the prayer, how to concentrate on your salah, and everyone just said, that's really hard. Why is it so hard for you to concentrate on your salah? It's not hard at all. It's very, very easy to concentrate on your salah if your brain was working the way it should. But it's not, is it? You're always in this state. Yeah. So you never calm. Actually, we've forgotten what it means to be normal. We've forgotten what it means to be normal. Maybe you go for an hour-long walk, And towards the end of the week, you're getting a bit normal again. Then you check your phone, it's like you're resetting it again. So sensible people, what a lot of people do now is they'll wake up in the morning, they won't do anything for 2 or 3 hours. No phone time for 2 or 3 hours. So at least you have some part of your day where it's normal. Yeah. Then we're in meditation mode when we wake up. What does meditation mode mean? When you have a greater sense of consciousness and awareness. This is what you need to be in to be able to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what you need to be in this mode. As soon as we engage with our phone, it stops. We become hyperactive. Our attention span has been reduced to 8 seconds, less than a goldfish. What does that mean? You're like, if you watch a YouTube short or an Instagram reel, within 8 seconds, it's got to get your attention. It's actually less now. Somebody's filming 3 or 4 seconds. If you're not interested within the first few seconds, you switch on to the next one. You're just going to swipe along or up or whatever people do. So reflection has been reduced massively as a concept of patience. One of the biggest, there's two major problems now with the Muslims today that our teacher, having already mentioned recently, he said, if you think about the Muslims now, are there Muslims that read Quran? Yeah, mashallah. Are there Muslims that pray in the night? Yes. Are there Muslims that fast? Yes. But there's 2 qualities that are rare now amongst Muslims. One of them, he said, is muhasabah. To really look at your life and think about, like, for example, look at your day. What did I do well? What did I do badly? What could I improve? How can I avoid it? Nobody does muhasabah anymore. Yeah. And secondly, fikr, reflection. Nobody reflects. We've turned our brains off and just, because as soon as you start reflecting, you'll be like, wait a minute, why am I spending 7 hours a day on my phone? Stupid. I want to change. But you never ever think of that. Again, it's part of Shaitan's trick. Yeah, and these human devils now that are more influential than Shaitan himself now, that's part of their trick. They never ever want you to stop and actually think about anything. Yeah. Like one of the biggest problems I see, especially when it comes to these lands, it shocks me, is when you come to this country, everyone complains. It really, like where I live then in Yemen, 80% of the country is on the brink of famine. People are starving. I don't hear a single person complaining. And therefore, like I'll go back now and we'll come back to Ramadan. I'm there for eight months. In 8 months, I won't hear a single person complain. Or a single person. You meet them, they're smiling. Yeah, and these guys are living there. Weekly shopping budget is £1.50 a week. That's what they're living off, £1.50 a week. Some of them are going 2 or 3 days. I still remember my parents, mashallah, but some parents visited Yemen. And then when we were leaving, we left through Oman. So we took like a car or a coach where we through Oman, and we stopped there for some food. It was like dinner time. So anyway, so we ate, and then we getting up, and a man comes up to me. I had like a piece of bread, like half a naan or something left over. He said, "Can I have that?" I said, "Yeah, of course you can have it. It's no problem." As soon as I said yes, he calls. Come here, Asha, dinner. He calls over about 4 or 5 guys that come and sit and have that bread. That was their dinner. Yeah. And they were ecstatic about it. They were happy about it. So those, and then why do we complain? Because again, we don't use our brain. If you just stop for 1 second and thought about the blessings Allah's given you, you'd be overwhelmed with tears, and you never complain again. Just think about the amount of blessing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. Just start thinking about it. Reflection, but we don't do it. Nobody reflects anymore. This is the reason why we don't reflect, and we don't take ourselves to account. We don't think about our lives and how we can improve. And these are like almost like strange things. These are things that people used to do, but not anymore. Okay, practical tips, guys. They're practical tips, inshallah ta'ala. We'll try to get to the 10 minutes. I want to have some questions at the end. These are some things that we can all do. Yeah. The first thing I would say before this, number 1, is to get an alarm clock. Honestly, just the first thing to just get an alarm clock. Get an alarm clock, and then straight away now you can do this next one. Have your phone off 1 hour before and after bed. So 1 hour before you go to sleep, take your phone off. I'm telling you, you won't be able to do it. You're going to actually struggle. You're going to, oh my God, it's so hard. Just that 1 hour. Try it tonight. Let's just say you're going to go to bed at 11, 10 o'clock, put it away. You're going to be itching like this. Every like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, you're going to, where is it? You're going to realize that you're a drug addict. That's what it is. It's like rummaging through the rubbish or something, trying to find something. That's what you're going to be like. Yeah, you will really try it. Yeah, you guys will realize, like, oh my God, I didn't realize it was this bad. And then 1 hour in the morning, wake up in the morning, turn off your alarm, and then say, no, I'm not gonna check my WhatsApp. Yeah, I'm not gonna check the news, check the weather or whatever people do. Check Al Jazeera, latest on the Iran war. I'm not gonna do that. Nothing. Yeah, for an hour. See how hard it is. Oh my God, that's just 1 hour either way. Good place to start, isn't it? Another important thing is choose set times to read messages and respond. Yeah. So what you should do, for example, is because many of us work, and myself personally, I work on my phone. Otherwise, I could just chuck you in the bin, couldn't I? I remember one of them. There's a man. He had a very interesting dream. I remember he was with our teacher Sheikh Ibrahim. They went on like a retreat in where is it? Wales. That was it, Wales. They went to a retreat there, and he has a dream. In his dream, Sayyidina Ali comes to him in his dream. Mashallah, Sayyidina comes to his dream. But you know what Sayyidina Ali does? He comes to him in his dream. He takes his phone and he throws in the sea, and then he wakes up. And he goes to Sheikh Ibrahim and he said, "I had this dream. What's the interpretation of the dream?" Because it's obvious. Chuck your phone in the sea. That's as you get rid of the phone. It's like you don't need the interpretation. You just don't want to hear the interpretation. It's too hard for you. So you're trying to find some spiritual meaning. That's spiritual meaning. That's the meaning of it. Khalas, that's it. Get rid of your phone. But like so many, let's just say you can't do that because then you have to find at least now. For example, if I have work things to do, then say okay, every hour I'm going to check, and then so I check at like 8 o'clock. And then it doesn't matter what happens. And I promise you, the world's not going to collapse if you don't check your phone for 55 minutes or an hour. There's nothing's going to happen. I promise you. And nothing whatsoever will happen. Just do it like to have a set time, or even better, maybe have 3 or 4 times in the day when you check important messages. That's it. Yeah. Remove useless apps. People should have done this already. I mean, if you haven't done this, then it's like, wow. If you've still got things on there that are distracting you, then it's supposed to remove any type of useless apps. This is important. Keep yourself so busy so that you don't have time for nonsense. Yeah. So this goes back. They said that there's 3 reasons for like addiction. They mentioned the number 1 reason is boredom. Once you're bored, that's when people start doing the haram. That's when people start, talking about things they shouldn't be talking about, looking at things they shouldn't be looking at, listening to things they shouldn't be listening to. Boredom. Number 1 reason. Number 2 reason is stress. When people are stressed out, then they go towards certain things to comfort them. And then the 3rd one is social reasons, bad company. Yeah, you spend time with certain people, and then you end up, doing bad things or having bad habits. Those 3. But the first one is that to keep yourself busy. What the great Imam Shafi said that I spend time with the great spiritual masters of my age. That's what he said. He actually used the word Sufi. He spent time with the Sufi. Some people use this as an evidence for the term. He said, I spent time with the great spiritual masters of my age, and he said, I learned 2 things from them. First thing I learned is that time is like a sword. Yeah? It either cuts with you or it cuts against you. Yeah, time. And secondly, he said, I realized you have to keep your nafs busy with good. Otherwise, it will keep you busy in evil. That's the reality. Yeah, you're just gonna have idle time. Watch out. So find something. And the best things now, Quran, knowledge, dhikr, some type of service. If you can't do that, then just find a useful hobby, whatever. At least just find something that's mubah, something that's permissible to do. Yeah, whatever it is, if you like. And people are different strokes of different folks. Some people might like going for walks or something. Some people might like going to the gym. Someone else might like painting. Well, it doesn't really matter what you do, but just find something useful to do so then you don't have this opportunity there to do haram in the first place. What else? Don't waste time living someone else's life. The stupidity of people. People are like looking at someone else, and I'm telling you, that guy's life is not that good. He's just presenting it as good on social media. He's probably more depressed than you. And I mentioned the great Imam Malik. And to give you an example of this, one of the problems we have is that we're very arrogant. So I'm talking to the youngsters here. Most of the elders are not like this much. The youngsters, we're very arrogant. We think that we know everything. And we think, these ancient, like, these Babi don't know anything. These ancient people don't know. That's what we think, innit? You got to be honest. That's what we think. So now, but the reality is, these ancient people knew a lot more than we did. I'll give you. Look at Imam Malik. Imam Malik lived 1,300 years ago. Yeah, look at what he said. Someone came to him, Imam Malik. Imam Malik sat in the masjid. He said, "I've got a question for you." He said, "What's your question?" He said, "Who are the worst people? Who are the worst people on the face of the earth?" And Imam Malik said, "The worst people are those who lose their akhirah because of their dunya. They're so busy in this world that they lose the next life, And so then look at the man. He said, "Okay, who's worse than them? Who's the asfal safilin? Who's the lowest of the low?" And Imam Malik says, "Good question." And he says, "The worst people, the lowest of the low, are people they lose their akhirah, they lose their next life because of other people's dunya. So they're wasting time looking at." Next man's house. Look what a nice house he's got. Looking at someone else. You're watching, Messi win the World Cup. What did Messi give you some of his prize money? Put your hand up here. So you're going to spend 90 minutes of your time, 120 minutes, with the penalties on top, watching Messi win the World Cup. What did you get from it? Zilch. I'm trying just from the dunya, you didn't get anything. Forget about the akhirah, you get nothing at all. At least just go and make some money in that time. Or if you got any common sense, you use it for the akhirah. How long does it? If Surah Al-Ikhlas takes 5 seconds to recite. So that means you can recite 12 in a minute, which is like that's the reward of 4 Qur'ans. Times that by 100, you could do 480 Qur'ans before it even gets to the penalty shootout. You could get the reward of 480 Qur'ans before it even gets to penalties, but you're watching Messi. Messi's going to give you nothing. Messi will betray you on the day of judgment. What happens on the day of judgment? You think Messi's going to help you on the day of judgment? He ain't going to help you on the day of judgment. No one's going. There's only one who's going to help you on the day of judgment. His name is Muhammad. He'll help you on the day of judgment. Watch what he does. Watch how he goes into hellfire and drags people and throws them out. Prophet is in the highest ranks of Jannah. He leaves that to go to hellfire to take people out. That's what he's going to be doing. And you betraying him, instead of remembering him and sending blessings upon him and reading his book, you watching Messi. And then people are, it's halal, bro. What's the big deal? If that's your standard of halal, I'm okay, fine, whatever. That's like the Asian people would say, like, it says, there's a big difference between us and them. So you can choose, innit? So don't waste your time living someone else's life. And they're loving it. Messi's loving it. How much is he? He's making plenty of money from you watching and buying his merchandise or whatever. So he's fine. Don't worry about him. He's getting his dunya. He won't have the akhirah. You've lost both. Hasad the dunya wal akhirah. You lost both for what? Just so you can watch him, win his World Cup and have his trophy and whatnot. Children should never be allowed to be on their own with their phone when eating. They should never ever be allowed to be on their phone alone. Simple as that. With all children, so it's all of us. Keep it away from me at all times. As we're triggers, never trust the nerves. Never think, oh, it's all right. I've had a couple of good days, and then that was it. No, stay steadfast. This is a battle, and stay steadfast upon that. As soon as you become lax, it's all over. This is interesting. This definitely works. If you have to use it, then a penalty is in place for misuse. This really works. Whatever the sting is. For example, every time if I'm gonna waste like 5 minutes on my phone, just scrolling through Instagram or whatever I'm doing, then I have to pay. Like I have to give something in charity. I have to pray some nawafil. I have to do something that's hard on me. That actually works. The problem is that nobody ever follows through. You just say, oh yeah, next time I'll do. If you follow through on that even one time, then your nerves knows you're serious. It won't mess around after that. Okay. A final point here before we take questions. Smartphone use points to deeper emptiness and a symptom of underlying boredom. This is what you have to understand is why are people on the phone? There's a deeper issue here. And the deeper issue is a lack of connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why would many of our elders, they wouldn't even have these problems? Elders won't have these problems. Why not? Because they're already immersed in the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't have a problem. The Prophet sallallahu he's talking about the Masih al-Dajjal. The Prophet sallallahu mentioned once that Prophet came to a gathering and the Sahaba sat and he says, what are you discussing? And he said, talking about the Masih al-Dajjal. Prophet sallallahu he said, if the Dajjal came today, he said the children of Medina would chase him out with sandals. We don't need to do anything. We can just relax. The children take care of it. Why? Because this was a society immersed in the dhikr of Allah. The Dajjal will not come out except when people are in ghafla. When people have the ghafla is the opposite of dhikr. When people forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when people stop remembering him, then he's going to come out. So this is part of the problem. We haven't been able to control our thoughts and realize these things. So what do? Then we seek stillness and silence. We seek stillness and silence in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Supplication. We mentioned a few things here, inshallah, to conclude here. Supplication, dua. When was the last time we really called upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That's what Ramadan wasn't that long ago. But from Ramadan to Ramadan, nothing happens. Recitation of the Quran, we close our Qurans and then we wait till next Ramadan, we open it again. How much dust is, you open your Quran for the next time, it's like, thick, 2-3 inches of dust. Contemplation, etc. So these types of practices will now allow us to remove these aspects from our lives. I'm going to mention actually one thing here that's very useful that Imam Ghazali mentions. Yeah, if you want to read this, there's a really good article on meditation. Those people who want to look this up online, as well, if anyone is genuinely, there's an article about meditation by a man called Justin Parrott. It's a convert, mashallah. It goes by. He also uses his non-Muslim name, Justin Parrott. It's called meditation. He mentions this practice. That's where I got it from. He says that Imam Ghazali says you sit in a darkened room, and you empty your thoughts. Yeah, and then he says you have a particular dhikr. So it could be like la ilaha illallah, it could be like whatever it is, and you focus on that. So for example, you come in and you focus upon astaghfirullah, yeah, and you just focus upon that, and you just speak to Allah directly, and all you're trying to do is just focus on, and then every time a different thought comes in, just gently go back to that. Don't allow yourself to just sit for half an hour and just beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness, or just sit for half an hour and repeat la ilaha illallah with presence of heart. If you do these types of practices, slowly but surely it'll impact the rest of your life. So just that half an hour, the rest of your life now, you'll be able to maintain stillness and concentration. And there's a number of repeating and listening to a verse of the Quran. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've just really abandoned the Quran in that sense. Okay, if there's any questions, we'll stop there, inshallah. If there's anything anybody wants to ask, inshallah. Hopefully there is. I don't know if there's anything on the chat. Nothing I can see. Bismillah. Yeah, anybody got any questions?
So if your kids are used to watching 3 or 4 hours a day, what's the best way to approach that to reduce it without the kids rebelling and sending them in a kind of...
It's an excellent question. So if your kids are used to watching 3 or 4 hours a day, what do you do about it? Well, the first thing that I would say is self-rectification. Before we do anything else, what we have to do, we have to set very high standards. Yeah, that's the first thing. That's part of the challenge, isn't it? So, like, for example, that means that if you want to reduce your kids from 3 hours, that means you should be using no more than half an hour yourself, even 10 minutes. Like, you need to be very, very good on yourself, and then you now open it up. Yeah, like, a man once went to Sayyidina Ali with his son, and he said, my son's addiction, he loves sugar, he loves sweet things. Can you tell him to stop having so much sweets? It's not good for his health. So then Ali, he says, come back to me in a few days. So he comes back in a week later, and he brings his son, and he says, can you tell? It's the same thing. And Sayyidina looks at him and says, don't eat sweet things, go away. So the man's confused that you could have just told him this a week ago. And he goes, yeah, because I had to stop it myself. Because I wasn't having a lot, but here and there I was having a bit of sweet. So I had to completely remove from my life before I even would tell anybody else. Yeah, so completely wipe it out of you. You have no enjoyment time whatsoever. That's never going to happen, is it? So then it's like, okay, maybe at least half an hour. So you reduce your own time massively. Then have the conversation, because it's still what we don't understand. There's a sarah to speech. Yeah, the Prophet, his words had secrets. He would speak very little. Prophet, long periods of silence, wouldn't speak, and then he would say a few words. And those few words were enough. It's a famous story, a funny story about the Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jailani. Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jailani was once in a gathering and someone was speaking. And this man speaking and saying all these things. Everyone just sat there. The Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jailani stands up and he said something like relatively mundane. He said something, everyone just starts crying. And they're like, so the man goes, he goes, what happened? Like, I was saying all these great things about the akhirah and this, that, the other knows that. And Sheikh Abdul Qadir, he just said one thing that started crying. That's ahwal. Yeah, there's states behind your words. And they say the lisanul hal afqah min lisan al-maqal. The tongue of your state, of your actual reality, is much more eloquent and powerful than this tongue that we move around, that we talk about. That's really the key point. Now, once you have that, then speak to your children. And what is the great Sheikh Muhammad al-Yaqubi, Hafizahullah, one of the great scholars of this time, he says, just try this out as an experiment. Let's just say you've got a non-Muslim work colleague or a neighbor, someone that's asking about Islam. He says, talk to them about Islam. Yeah, tell them. He goes, then go home that night, wake up 3 hours before Fajr. He goes, spend 3 hours begging Allah to guide that person by name. He goes, then go back and talk to them and see what happens. Yeah. So that's what we do. First, if you want your children, beg Allah, go wake up, spend 2-3 hours a night. Ya Allah, remove this love of watching from the hearts of my children. Yeah. Again, repeatedly. Self-transformation, making that sincere dua, then action. Yeah. And just by doing those two things, the problem, 90% of the problem disappears. Just by the self-rectification, the sincere dua, suddenly I don't want to watch anything. All right, yeah. it'll happen, yeah. And we see this is very common. But then beyond that, looking at it in a practical way, yeah, there's it's about gradual reduction. It's about finding good substitutes for them, other things they can do that they enjoy, and all those kind of practical things that we can talk about. But the realities are elsewhere. The realities are self-rectification and in calling upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bismillah, any other questions?
So in modern times, like your elders and youngsters as well, who are oblivious to, like, let's say, the addiction to smartphone, and they're not willing to listen, how would you tackle that issue?
That's a great question. I mean, we need education on this. We need massive education on this. This is part of the problem. Yeah, like this is ignorance, isn't it? Ignorance is, the darkest of realities. Yeah. So what I would do, there's different things. I mean, what I would do is, I would try to find somebody like senior within the community, somebody who is, and really we should, like the imams, for example, should need to be big on this. Yeah, the religious leaders need to be big on it. We all need to do more. Every single one as an individual, whatever level of society, whatever, we should do more on this, because this is a huge problem. The way we have to look at it is, this is destroying our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is there anything else that matters other than the connection with Allah? No. So it's not a small thing for, like, the problem with this is it's like what we call a soft addiction. It's not going to destroy your life. Like if somebody's addicted to alcohol or something like that, it's going to ruin their life. Yeah, if somebody's addicted to drugs, here you can still function in society. I could be on my phone 7-8 hours a day and I've still got a good job. My family's still happy with me, blah, blah, blah. But what has been destroyed? Connection with the Rabbul Alameen. That's been destroyed, been ruined. Yeah, but seemingly seems like I've got a normal life. So we have to do that. You try to find senior people, and again, the foundation of the matter is iltija Allah, is to beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and self-rectification. So it goes back to that. You do those two things, all those people around you start to change. It's a simple, and this is tried and tested. How many people? You look at throughout our history, how many of them would change the whole society? One man, one woman, one individual transform the whole society through self-rectification and calling upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The two things those are the last two things we think about. Unfortunately, now, like, you got a problem, you try to find this practical. So the last thing we think about is asking Allah. Isn't that the first thing you do? You're supposed to ask Allah and then take the means. And even when you ask Allah, I mean, come on, the way we ask Allah, that's not asking Allah. You ask Allah knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ready to respond. It's a different reality. Yeah. What is it like? You ask in a state of iddirar. You're begging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, there's aspects to that, and then again, changing our own habits is the hardest of things. Everybody loves. I mean, it's easy to preach. I did this with my daughter the other day. I said to her, what faults do you have? What weaknesses do you have? She said a few. I don't know, 3 or 4 things. Oh, I don't do this and that. I said, what about me? What faults do I have? Oof. Like 100, she's still on. Mashallah, just writing these down. Mashallah, it's easy, isn't it? When you look at someone else, it's like, yeah, you got this, you got that. Honestly, you can't do this, try, you use this at this, etc., etc. When yourself, it's like, no, I'm perfect. No problems at all. That's part of the challenge. There's a beautiful story that's mentioned there in Tanim. There's a great scholar, Imam al-Aydrus al-Akbar. So Imam al-Aydrus al-Akbar, so the Aydrus family is one of the big families of Ahlul Bayt that lives there in Hyderabad. So their great scholar, he was traveling and he met a man in like what we would call like a dervish type of man, like a spiritual man. And he goes, I sat with him for 3 or 4 hours. And he goes, we spoke about the Haqiqatul Muhammadiyah. We spoke about the reality of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Beautiful conversation, a conversation of shawq and mahabba and love, amazing, talking about the realities, the beauty and the magnificence of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. What a conversation. He did that, and Mom just like had a very good time. And after 3 or 4 hours, he said, you know what? He said, we just had this amazing conversation, full of barakah, full of blessings. Because you know what? He said, if you'd have just told me one of my weaknesses, it would have been better than all of that, you know. And it's like, yeah, amazing. 3 or 4 hours talking about the most beautiful and best of ways. What a way to spend an evening. He said, if you just told me one of my weaknesses, it would have been better. The man just put his head down and wept. I said, this is a real spiritual man now here. He's got the point. Because that's what like we talk about those things to get closer to the Prophet ﷺ. What's going to please the Prophet ﷺ more than anything else is when we start to see our weaknesses and change them. That's going to bring pleasure to the heart. If your objective is to please the Prophet Sallallahu, a high objective to so you can please Allah. If that's your objective, okay, well then rectify yourself. That's what's going to please Him. Not just talk about Him. Unless that talk leads to self-rectification, it is pointless. Yeah, it's pointless. Illa mashallah, there's still always barakah. Like this, our teacher would always say to us that he would say that when when you're teaching, when you're calling people to Allah, have the firm belief that other people are being rectified and you're gonna go to hell because you're insincere. Think of it like that. I'm going to go to, I'm insincere, but maybe don't get deluded about I guided these people to Islam. Okay, that doesn't mean you're safe. Yeah, that doesn't mean you're not going to die as a kafir. You don't know how you're going to die. You don't know what your ending's going to be. Just because you're helping other people, that's good for them, but not good for you. Yeah. Bismillah. Any other questions, inshallah? So we've got a bit of time. Marhaba. Yeah, go on.
What would you say is the best technique or way to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Oh, subhanallah. MashaAllah ta'ala, it's a deep question. So I'll give you an example of this. Talk about the Ismul Azam. Ismul Azam is the supreme name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you use that name, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer your prayer. So I'll give you an example. They talk about the great Imam Hassan al-Basri. We should know these names. Imam Hassan al-Basri is the greatest human being after the Sahaba. And obviously the Anbiya. Yeah, so if you look at the generation after the Sahaba, you had the Tabi'in. Who was the greatest from them? Some say Sayyidina Uwais al-Qarni, but the majority would say Imam Hassan al-Basri. Imam Hassan al-Basri, freed slave, mashallah, freed slave from Basra. So Imam Hassan al-Basri, once a man comes to him and he says that I've got a question for you. Goes, what's your question? He goes, what's the Ismul Azam? Same question as you're asking that. What's the Ismul Azam? Like, you tell me the name, like if I use that name, Allah will guarantee to accept my prayer. So Imam Hassan al-Basri says, okay. He calls one of his khuddam, or one of his workers over, and he says, can you see this man? He says, take his head and dunk it in that well over there. So he takes it, he dunks it in the well like this for about 10 seconds, and he pulls him out. The man's like, subhanallah, like, I'm really sorry. I've done some bad there, but what did I do? I'm really, really sorry about you. Like, I don't know what I've done. Please, I won't do it again. Just tell me what I've done. Hassan looks at him and says, do it again. Yeah, dunks him again. Yeah, 3 or 4 times. The 4th time he leaves him in there for 30, 40, 50 seconds. He pulls him. When he pulls him out, he says, Allah. So that's Ismul Azam. Because when you call upon Allah like that, that's it. Yeah. So it's not about is it Allah, is it Al-Hayy, is it Al-Qayyum? Imam al-Nawawi says it's in Allahu la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum. That's the Ismul Azam is contained within that. Others says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Others says Al-Wadud. There's different opinions. The opinion is not the point. The words on the point is the state of heart. What kind of state of heart are you in when you're calling upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And if you're in that state, then you're in that state. Yeah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer. If you're not in that state, then it doesn't. So that's if you want to have your dua to be answered. One of our shuyukh said, because imagine you're on a precipice, on a waterfall, yeah, and you're about to fall off and you're clinging onto a branch, and then the branch starts to break. How would you ask Allah at that point? That's it. Yeah. Look at all these people that become Muslim. They mention like the Yusuf Islam, Cat Stevens says, Yusuf Islam. He says, how did you become Muslim? He said he was surfing. He enjoyed California stuff, surfing. He goes, I was surfing, and he goes, because I was a really good swimmer, but I went down, the current was quite strong. Maybe I shouldn't have gone out that day. And he goes, it gets to a stage where he goes, I lost control. And then the current of the sea, the ocean is powerful. Yeah, what's man against the ocean? Nothing. The ocean's pushing me away. And he goes, I realized at one stage I'm not going to make it. Class, I'm dead. Like, I can't get back to the shore. Because at that stage I said, oh God, help me now and I'll do things for you. Yeah, if you save me now in the situation, I've got no one left except for you. This is it. There's no hope. If you save me now, I'll do things for you. Yeah. And he said, then suddenly the current changed. And I went back. And he goes, but he was, mashallah, man of sidq. Because when he said, when I got back to the shore, I started thinking, maybe I'll just for one day. This is a human being. It says in the Quran, isn't it? They all saying that all our save is in the sea and then get back. But mashallah, man of sidq. He did it. And now look how many schools he's established, how many people entered Islam through his work. But the point is, look how that stage when he asked at that stage, that's how you make dua. Yeah, this one, you had a question.
What is the difference between electronic devices and alcohol?
What do you mean? What is the difference?
The people get addicted to it.
Yeah, okay, well, excellent question. So it's the process is the same. So the way your brain processes is the same. So the way the brain becomes addicted, it doesn't matter. Whatever, somebody could be addicted to their job or something. It doesn't matter. It's the same process. The same process. Like, for example, there's positive addiction. Somebody could be addicted to exercise. That's a good thing. It's good to be addicted because there's no harmful side effects. Yeah, the Sahaba were addicted to dhikrullah. They were addicted to the Quran. Like, they couldn't. If they went without the Quran for an hour or something, they would start shaking. Yeah, many of them had it memorized, but if they didn't, if you read from the Muslim and they can't get access to the Quran, they're going to start shaking. It's going to be physical realities. Look at Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He would spend his whole night screaming out, "Wa shaw qala Rasulullah," because he missed the Prophet that much. They go look at his. They described that he would cry like a baby. Yeah, and then his wife would come to him and she would say, "You the closest to him." Yeah, Prophet loved you more than anyone. He would stop crying for about 10 seconds and start crying again, because he was addicted to being in the prophetic presence. The Prophet left him; he couldn't handle life. Umar goes insane. The Prophet leaves this world. Sayyidina Umar goes insane. He says, anybody who says the Prophet was down, sever the head immediately. Yeah, this is addiction. Yeah, but it's a positive addiction. That's why we want to be addicted to the being in the prophetic presence. We want to be like one of the 7 that are given shade on the Day of Judgment, or those people whose heart is attached to the masjid. Yeah, and they're addicted to going to the masjid, being in the masjid. So in that sense, it's but then it's like, what are you now going to give your heart to? And this is the problem we have. We give our heart to the worst of things. Yeah, we give our heart to these disbelievers to just play around. Yeah, we give them to shayateen. Why don't we give our heart to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We give our heart to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We don't. We just, they mentioned that shaitan, he said that shaitan was unveiled to one of the Adifin, people who know Allah, and he said, I play with people just like children play with a ball. I just push him here, push him there. I just do whatever I want. He goes, except for these guys over there. And a group of people that were in the remembrance of Allah said, those people, I can't touch them. I don't have authority over them. The rest of them, I just push them around here, there, everywhere. Yeah. Is there any other questions? Anything? Any other questions? Okay, Jazakallah, inshallah. We'll stop there. Closing dua. Asking, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله وصحبه بقدر المولى والمقدار العظيم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتوب علينا انك انت التواب الرحيم. اللهم ارزقنا توبة نصوحة. اللهم ارزقنا توبة نصوحة. اللهم ارزقنا توبة نصوحة. اللهم انا نسألك من الخير كله عاجله واجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم ونعوذ بك من الشر كله عاجله واجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم ونسألك الجنة وما قرب اليها من قول وعمل ونية واعتقاد ونعوذ بك من النار وما قرب اليها من قول وعمل ونية واعتقاد ونسألك من خير ما سألك منه عبدك ونبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ونستعيذك بما استعاذك منه عبدك ونبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم قضيت لنا أمر فاجعل عقبته رشدا. Ya Allah, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Lord, we ask that you accept this gathering, this come together in order to increase in knowledge and in order to improve ourselves, in order to gain closeness to you. Ya Allah, we ask that you accept the attendance of every single person here. Ya Allah, we ask that the reward of this gathering goes to every single Muslim from the time of the Prophet Adam alayhi salam all the way to the present day, to the Day of Judgment. That every single soul gains from the barakah and the blessings of this gathering, that this gathering becomes a means by which their graves are illuminated, by which they're able to stand on the Day of Judgment with safety and security, by which they're given the shafa' of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by which they're able to enter into Jannah al-Firdaus al-A'la, wala hisab, wala fitna, wala itab, wala any type of reckoning or difficulty or hardship. Ya Allah, we ask that this gathering becomes a means by which Islam spreads in these lands. Ya Allah, we ask that this gathering becomes a means by which the raya, the flag, the banner of the Prophet ﷺ becomes manifest in every single corner of the planet. Ya Allah, specifically we ask for our dear brother Safir, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless his father in the barzakh, and that this gathering, the blessings and the fuyudat, the immense overflowing generosity from this gathering flows into him and becomes a means by which his ranks are raised, and a means by which is given delight in the grave, and he's given delight on the day of judgment, and he's given delight in Jannah through the na'im, through the barakat and the bounties that come in Jannah by the blessed gathering. Wa sallallahu ala